with episode 5 of 10 of this year's podcast miniseries. With me today, we've got the jack of all trades in the tech industry, one of the best guys I've ever met down the years. He is a tech recruiter. He is the Fulham AV guy, which, as you can see, I'm going to be very jealous of. And he is the owner of CryptoJerseys. So when it comes to everything sports-related tech, NFTs, the Metaverse, and everything in that space, this is the guy. So, Brenny, introduce yourself.
Hell yeah. All right, John, I love the jersey. Thanks for having me back. I say back because I think we did a podcast I think it wasn't the last World Cup, it was the World Cup before, where they just introduced VAR for the first time. Yes. And it was a football-related chat then as well. What's the crack? I'm Brenny, owner of Crypto FC Jerseys, football mad. If it weren't for John, I wouldn't even be playing football. John introduced me to our local club back home, which, is just, in my point of view, changed my life. It's really, really got me into football more so than I was already. I'm a tech recruiter. I design football jerseys. I work at Fulham as an AV freelancer. I do a bit of everything. I'm always trying to get in with the newest tech. That's a little bit about me. I'm sure we'll dive more.
Yeah, you're very much the guy who's done bits of everything. You're like, I think that's why we get along. We're like, it's always, what am I up to next? I don't know. I'll do something. Then spins back around. I'm actually managing that football team these days. My hip finally gave up, so I've stepped away from playing, and now I get to just shout at people from a distance for things.
I'm delighted to hear. Yeah, I'm delighted to hear that they have a aside from the A team, which are going really strong, to have someone managing the team. Well, I'm delighted to hear that. So congratulations. How's the season going?
Second in the league, and we're into the Open Cup quarterfinals. So for a little team down in 3A, we're punching well above our weight at the minute, and we're gonna keep going. We're gonna drive. We're gonna see where we land. So myself and Leon stepped in at the start of the year. The bodies have finally crocked up, and we've gone, do you know what? It's time to just be the man on the line, sadly.
I love that. So even going straight into tech, are you like, when it comes to training sessions, have you got experience in running sessions? Have you used tools? Have you ever heard of Coach's Voice Academy, which is
go straight into that. Okay.
Yeah, Coach's Voice Academy. It's you often see on social media, they might have Jose Mourinho in front of a little overview of the pitch, and they might walk through Jose's versus Barca's Guardiola and Guardiola's Barca and how he masterminded that game in which they won. So that's Coach's Voice Academy. But then what they also do is a subscription service like your Netflixes and whatever. You sign up, they give you lesson plans. They might have the Chelsea under 8s manager. They'll have a drone in the sky. They'll have the lesson plan of how each session you progress from basic to intermediate to advanced to then obviously your game, so that you can learn to become a coach outside of the FAI or FA structure. So just a really cool way to find out, for example, if you recognize that maybe in the last game you kept losing the ball and you conceded on the transition, you can look at transitional exercises that you can do with the team. If you want to focus, if you got more wingers, if you're playing a 4-4-2, there's coaching lessons that you can do to specifically work towards a 4-4-2 formation. So there's loads of different stuff, and again, it's a subscription service just to improve you as a coach. So if you hadn't heard of that,
I hadn't. So there we go. I've been using the old YouTube and the FAI lesson plans and stuff like that. So that's epic. So I think we're just going to kick off straight into the sports side. I think we had a plan, but very quickly just went straight to the end. We'll revert. It's fine. So you've got you've been doing crypto jerseys now for 3 years. Do you want to explain what the hell that is, where it's going, what you've been doing, and essentially why crypto jerseys, and what the hell is a crypto jersey? Because I know you do NFTs, the Metaverse, and the crypto all combined in this mad brand.
Yeah, absolutely. So funnily enough, over the pandemic, I don't want to say that there was illegal football leagues going on, like underground fight club like football leagues where you're not meant to congregate. So that completely didn't happen. However, in a time like this, I was playing a little bit of football with a friend, and he had a Just Hodl It t-shirt on. And at that time, I just kind of gotten into crypto. And I was like, that's pretty cool. He's letting the world know that he's into crypto, because Hodl is very crypto themed. So I was like, that's pretty cool. What cryptocurrencies are you into? What tokens, stuff like that. And he told me. I was like, oh, cool, brilliant. But it would have been cool if he had a way of showing me what what he was wearing. He's wearing clothing to let me know he liked crypto. But then I had to kind of ask further. And I thought it was a really cool idea that obviously with crypto, like, people do like specific cryptos. You might like Solana, you might like Bitcoin or ETH or Cardano or whichever. So I thought it'd be a cool idea to create like a Bitcoin jersey.
Cool.
Bitcoin.
You're wearing one of them, aren't you?
I am wearing a Bitcoin jersey. Yeah, this is one of the newer ones. This pattern is actually an AI generated pattern as well, because you gotta use as many of these tools as possible. But so it kind of started with that, where started with a Bitcoin jersey that quickly sold out. I went onto like the Dogecoin subreddit and like put up a competition, or not a competition, but a poll to see which jersey design would be like the best Dogecoin design. That was like top of Reddit for like for a day. Made a sold out a Dogecoin jersey as well. And then I started working with smaller Binance BSC tokens. So I'd work directly with like the team. I'd create a jersey for them. They'd either send it directly to the many team members around the world. So if you're working for a small token, you would get a jersey as a kind of, not a uniform, but as your little memento.
Your swag.
Yeah, exactly. Swag, exactly. So but also for me, again, it was the sense of community. Bitcoin, or all of these communities, they're little tightly knit communities. And I just thought that was a great idea. Then NFTs were the next biggest thing. So I was like, right, what do I do in the NFT space? And generative NFTs were the talk of the town. So
I kind of want to explain there, because like a lot of people hear NFTs and they go, it's like a picture on the internet. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So do you want to kind of explain? Sorry for interrupting on that one, but like, do you want to kind of explain in a very simple manner what an NFT is, and then how that can tie back into your project?
Yeah, absolutely. So an NFT, I look at NFTs as like Pokemon cards, trading cards. The value is attached to its rarity, in my point of view, and when it comes to these generative collections anyway. So an NFT is a non-fungible token. What it really means is that there is proof of ownership on the blockchain. So, for example, if I walk into the Louvre, however you say it, and I take a picture of the Mona Lisa, and then I walk around and say, I've got the Mona Lisa because I've got a picture of it, but I don't. The Louvre has the real version of it and has the certificate of authentication that they own the piece. And so what an NFT is digital authentication of ownership. So for example, say I was I think it was Maroon 5 who did this. It was either Maroon 5 or the Killers, where they released an album as an NFT. And so that album was specifically for their fans, obviously. And whoever owned it, I think there was only 10 of them or 100 of them or something like that. Whoever owned it then had like special access, VIP access to all future gigs. And so all they have to do is prove that they own it, and it's like a collectible. They could still sell this on, and it would and they would make their money off it. Think of Fortnite. Say you're playing Fortnite and you get yourself a skin that you got 6 or 7 years ago. There's no way of actually monetizing that. You have the skin, it's yours. But imagine an economy or a system in which you have a really rare Fortnite skin, and then in 5 years' time, or a really rare car in GTA 5.
Sure.
And you want to then sell that. you could sell that on for more money. Think of Foot, like Ultimate Team. You could get a really rare player and you sell it on the market within the game. But imagine in the game that also had actual fiat related monetary value. That's what an NFT essentially is. So,
that's actually probably one of the best descriptions I've heard of an NFT, because I think a lot of people still go the technical route of, you generate this, you do this, and then it's all hit, and then I think what gets really complicated about NFTs is the term blockchain is like, it's still very, what is that? It's links, it's connections across the internet, blah 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 blah. And I think when you hear it, what it is, it's tech bro stuff where it's just like, let's pack in all of these words and then it's so that people can't understand. But that description of, imagine a Pokemon card on the internet, you are the one who owns it. Yeah, sure, people can have pictures of it, but you own the actual physical entity. And if you want to sell that on to someone who is also collecting those, cool.
Exactly. And so like, even when it comes to blockchain and Web3, think of like wallets like Trust Wallet, MetaMask, all these different wallets. Usually when you sign in across the internet nowadays, you're either signing in through Facebook or Google or maybe Apple. So with Web3, which is the newer version, or the next version, first you'd sign in with your email, then you sign in with like Facebook, and the next version is you sign in with your wallet. And so your wallet is what holds not only your cryptocurrency coins and tokens, but it holds your NFTs, but also it holds your login. So you can, log into various different applications via this wallet, and it could be across various different things. And that's basically the Web3 side of things. So obviously NFTs are now the next big thing. I'm like, right, what does my brand look like in an NFT space? So first I tried just to make NFTs of the jerseys, with the idea of, I kind of made like framed jerseys, so that if you had like a metaverse space, which we'll get into, you could hang it up in your metaverse space. So I started with that, but then I was like, I want to do something a little bit different. I want to get into this generative space. So I created a collection. There was 100,000 different jerseys, all with different colors, all with different color logos, different crests like Bitcoin FC, Dogecoin United, AC Ethereum, Cardano Rovers, that sort of thing. Different like base patterns underneath, of all different rarity levels. So the way it worked was, it was kind of like a gumball machine. You would buy an NFT. An NFT could cost between €2. I almost say pounds, but I am in London at the moment. £2 or £5.
£1, £2,
£3. You'd buy the NFT. You get a jersey. It could be the rarest, or it could be the least rare. It doesn't matter. You buy the NFT. It's then yours. It's then in your wallet. You own that NFT forever. If you really then like that, if you really like the NFT, what you could do then is you could connect. What you could do is you could reach out to me, because at the time I hadn't token gated my store, which is something that I'll go into again in a moment. I'm actually going to write that down so I can remember what token gating is. Token gated store. So if you like the jersey, you could then, or if you like the NFT, you could reach out to me. I would then make that NFT into a jersey for you, and I would link the NFT as a QR code on the sleeve. So not only do you have a one-of-a-kind jersey, but you've also got a QR code which will link you to that NFT of the jersey. So not only is this just simply a picture that you own for £2 or £3, it's an opportunity like a mystery jersey thing where you'd get.
Which I actually do. I have my mystery jerseys. I'm very much a jersey collector. I have like 40, 50 odd now. So like, I love this idea because it's like, here's a one-off just for you based on something that you digitally purchased. Like that's, it's such a simple thing. It's like, I wanted this thing for my metaverse space. Or just to own an NFT, like as in like, here's my entry point to NFTs. I wanted to buy something. I like sports. Give me a football jersey. It's like, ooh, and now I can have the real thing. Cool.
Exactly.
That gives you something physical then to go, well, I also own this on the internet.
Exactly. And it's a great talking point because obviously you've got like a random Bitcoin jersey. You've got the NFT of it. You've got the QR code. You're introducing people then to what an NFT is. They can actually see the real life utility. So what the problem is with NFTs is people just think, what's the point? But if my collection actually kicked off, which it didn't, which is fine. The proof of concept was the main idea.
Sure.
If it kicked off, I could have 10,000 jerseys out there. People could be buying and selling the NFTs to have in their own space. But really, someone will only someone might have the real jersey. People might hold on to an NFT and sell the jersey. It gives that resale value of creating that my own little economy of sales, essentially,
Sure.
and jersey collectors. So that was the NFTs side of things. But I mentioned then as well people were hanging them up in spaces. So I was working with a cryptocurrency, which unfortunately, as most of them have gone bust,
Mm-hmm.
with the CEO of this one currently facing 45 years in jail for fraud.
Don't have a clue who you're talking about. Say no more.
I won't say anymore. But so they had a great community. They had millions of followers on Twitter, and they had a really good community. And there was a few people in the community who would create like VR spaces. So this one guy, his name is Metaverse Josh. He would create rooms within, I think at the time it was Altspace VR, which was owned by Microsoft, but he's moved to Spatial, which is an incredible platform that's accessible on your phone, PC, VR. People are creating games within there. They're creating concerts. They're creating all these things. It's booming. It's phenomenal. But he would create VR pubs and spaces where you could for example, if there was a watch party, he had a cinema room where there might be 40 people who support a certain cryptocurrency in that room to watch a watch party of like the newest updates. And I know it sounds weird, but in the middle of the pandemic, being able to be in a space where you can also like shoot some hoops, play some pool, play Cards Against Humanity in a group of people in VR in a space, it was pretty cool. But then it was also cool having like 4 or 5 of my jerseys on the wall, in this VR space.
There you go. Big brain thinking right there. Yeah, that's so cool. Do you know what? This is the thing. VR, it's gimmicky as hell. Anybody I know that has VR headsets, right? What they do is they buy it. They might buy the PlayStation VR or whatever, Oculus. They'll do one shoot 'em up game, maybe watch one movie, watch another type of movie, and that's probably about it. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But its use cases is like, obviously now there's the Apple Vision Pro. Spatial computing's the new way. It's all XR. So I have the Meta Quest 2. The game I would always show people was Super Hot VR. Okay. If you've never played Super Hot, it's phenomenal. The time moves as fast as you move. And it's like a wave game where you'd reach out in front of you. There might be a knife or a machine gun or an Uzi or whatever. As soon as you grab it, there's like enemies that spawn in. The room also spawns in, and you've got to try and kill all the enemies. But time will only move as slowly as or as fast as you move. So you're there. You like slowly check out the room, scope what's coming at you, and then you're like dodging like with the like it's Matrix. There's bullets flying over your head. You shoot one guy, his gun comes in the air, you catch it, you shoot the next guy. Phenomenal. Showed so many people like that game through VR, and they're like, right, I understand it now. I'm sweating head to toe. This is so much fun. This is a completely new experience than simply playing it on a screen. So yeah, we kind of went into
like this is what's going to happen. It's like, okay, come on, focus. Where were we? Yes, NFT jerseys, cryptos. Yes, one-off kits, and then we were going to talk about gating and
so
the NFT setup.
So I kind of before we do, going back to like the metaverse side of things. So I mentioned Spatial. Spatial, I also had my own gallery, which is what I called my Metaverse Store. So it's accessible. It's still on my website, CryptoFCJerseys.com. Still on my website. And what you can do is you can go into it and you'll access my store on whatever device you're on. What it had was it had a small mini stadium in the center of the room. And then on all of the walls, it would have jerseys that were my NFTs, my favorite of the 10,000 collection. Yeah. So what I had then is I also had a QR code. So if you liked a jersey, you could scan the QR code and you could buy it. You could buy that NFT, and then of course you can get your NFT. And after a while, I added the token gating to my store. You can get that NFT, and you can buy it as a real jersey. So I went through 10,000 of my jerseys and found what I thought were the nicest ones. So that was the Metaverse Store. I also had a Metaverse Stadium, which was linked with another NFT project, which unfortunately went bust. So if anything, it's a graveyard now. It really is. So I was part of, obviously there was a lot of like, apes and like those types of NFTs. Yeah. So there was another project, which was a bunch of apes. We were all apes. And I think I had like 32,000, or not 32,000. I thought I had quite a few empty seats in the stadium. Sure. So I was one of these NFT holders, and I reached out to some of the other holders of the NFTs, and I said, look, we've all bought into this project. Would you like to here's the link. Would you like to send me a picture? Not the real thing, just a picture of your NFT. And what I'll do is I'll put your ape in one of the seats. So my stadium is half full of like different apes in this sitting in the seats. So there's that. But my idea was I even did a small video with Metaverse Josh where we were both in the stadium. I had my VR headset on. He had his VR headset on. We were standing pitch side having a chat.
Nice, like virtual punditry.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and yeah, so there is that. But then going back to the token gating. So as I mentioned, there were my favorite jerseys, and the way you would actually redeem it after a while. And this was the fun thing about working with Shopify is I got to find out about all of the newest apps, all of the newest things. I got to try things well in advance. Yeah. So they did a collaboration with Doodles. I'm not sure if you've heard of the NFT Doodle. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And they did a token gated experience in person where if you owned a Doodles NFT, you would actually go to this event and you could buy exclusive merch that only NFT holders could own. So it was like a members card essentially, but it was in collaboration with Doodles. So they started bringing this sort of stuff out to Shopify stores. They started rolling it out where if you were a Shopify store owner, you can get an app and you can create certain products that are only accessible to people who hold certain NFTs, or you could provide discounts to products if people own NFTs. So it was again like a membership card, but for people who owned NFTs. And of course, the thing is with NFTs is you can hold it for as long as possible, as long as you want, and then you can sell it again. There's resale value. The value might actually go up. I remember I got gifted, and I didn't sell at the right time. I got gifted another NFT.
I know this one. Yes.
Is it the dragon?
Yeah, I think you were mentioning this to me before. Go on. Tell me the story.
I got given a dragon. I owned a plot of land in a metaverse. It cost me at the time €370 to get a little plot of land. It was 32 by 32 in an 8-kilometer wide map. So for being a landowner, I got given an NFT. There was 1,000 of them given out. And the rarity value of mine, it was like 276. So I was in like near the first quarter of rarity. I had offers every day of like 600, 700, 800, $1,000, 1,200. I was like, I'm not selling this until it at least gets to whatever. I ended up selling it for about 200 quid at the end once everything like hit the fan and I needed a little bit of money. But yeah, so like NFT, you could resell them. But anyways, going back to the token gating. So what you'd do to claim any of my jerseys that you bought, you'd connect your wallet to my store. It would recognize that you are a holder of one of these NFTs on the collection, and then you'd be able to actually purchase that jersey for free and it would be sent out to you. But then anyone else who saw that jersey on the site, like reclaim your jersey, they won't be able to even add it to their cart because they haven't connected their wallet to it.
Sure.
So that was the token gating, and also a little bit about the metaverse side of things as well.
So, like, I have two questions based on that. So the first question is like super obvious. Like, let's say someone wants to go onto your website and buy an NFT. How do they do that? And the second question is, I've heard 3 different collapses since we've started in terms of and knowing how the NFT space has been, it did kind of what crypto did, when whoom, straight up to like scandalous money, and if you got in at that sweet spot, you made a fortune. And it's kind of done that piece where again crypto did for a while and just fell into the toilet. Now it's probably going to wave back up again. So the first question is, how does someone go about buying said NFT? And then why do we think the whole industry left a toll behind us recently?
Yeah, great question. So you can actually go onto my store directly and buy an NFT.
Right now.
Because I don't have that function for you to buy NFTs directly from my store. Some stores do, I don't.
Okay.
However, all of my NFTs live on an NFT marketplace called OpenSea. So what you would do is you would go, weirdly enough, you would go onto my store. You can then go to my Metaverse store, which will bring you to my gallery. You can have a quick look around my gallery, and if you see a jersey that you like, you can then scan the QR code or take a screenshot of the QR code and link that. That will link you then to the NFT on OpenSea, and then you can either view the collection that way or you can purchase that directly. And the best thing with OpenSea is, even if you don't own any cryptocurrency, you can buy directly with like Apple Pay, and it'll buy the cryptocurrency and then buy the NFT for you. You just kind of need to have a place to store it, which is the wallet, and there are multiple wallets available and they're all free. You don't really have to.
So what I'm actually going to do, and we're going to organize this offline. I'm going to give someone an opportunity to get their first NFT. So I'm actually going to buy one. I'm going to buy one. I'll get you to walk me through this, and we'll go through the process.
We can make a custom Goosed one.
There we go. If we do that, and what we'll do is with this release, so we'll hold the release back probably till tonight, tomorrow morning, and we will put an NFT giveaway.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. And just even on that front. So I recently, and we'll dive into Meta Soccer a little bit more. But I recently did a collaboration with a crowd called Meta Soccer, where they had a tournament. So again, we'll dive into Meta Soccer in just a moment. But we had a tournament, and the winner of the tournament would win a Meta Soccer jersey and a Meta Soccer NFT. So we recently did that. That was announced early December. The tournament took place over 2 weeks in January. The winner has just won. I don't have their name, unfortunately, which is a shame. Or do I have it on that tab? No. So they won, and now that they've been given their NFT, it's been gifted. I can even see on their. Actually, I do have their name. The name is Kwinana. I believe it's Kwinana FC. They're an Australian-based meta soccer club, and they've been given the NFT, and the jersey is currently available on the website for them to redeem, and then they'll be able to go and get that jersey. So I love those types of collaborations, and I'd absolutely happily give someone their first NFT.
I think that's the way to go. So the next question is, what happened to the NFT market? And then, because you're after mentioned Meta Soccer, and I know I'm super excited to hear about this, but I need to ask the first question: is what happened to NFTs? Because it went whoop and whoop, like with your poor dragon that could have made you lots of money, but foolish.
Yeah, I don't know is the real answer. Look, I personally believe in the underlying technology. Blockchain is essentially a distributed ledger. What that means is that what banks have is a ledger that is private, that's looked after by the bank. A blockchain is my understanding is it's a distributed ledger that anyone can add to, but people can't subtract from the ledger. And so it's I'm terrible at explaining it, but I believe that the blockchain is great technology. I don't believe that things like that should be centralized in one place. It should be decentralized, and that's essentially it. What happened is that people jumped onto the craze. What actually I believe started the downturn, or the start of the bull, I think it was news like China bans Bitcoin again for the bazillionth time. When stuff happens like that, the market always follows Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin is all the way, I can't tell which way your screen is, but if Bitcoin's going all the way up,
and then
it drops, everything follows. There's there's fear, there's uncertainty, there's doubt. You ever hear of FUDDers? That's what FUD stands for. It's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And so when that happens, people get scared. People start taking their money out of it. The market goes down, and then just faith in it. Then there's the bad press. Then there's all of this stuff, and then the market goes into a bear market for however long it does. So yeah, that's what happened. Does it really affect the people who really believe in the technology? No. Does it affect the prices and everything? Yeah.
Fair. But Josh, fair explanation. Fair explanation. I like that. So tell me about Meta Soccer.
You'd love this.
I know.
So, right. So Meta Soccer it's a blockchain-based game in which you are a club owner. So what you do is you'd hire a scout. You'd hire a scout. Your scout will then look for players. They might look for young players with a high ceiling, depending on how much you pay for your scout. So each of these scouts and all of the elements within the game are NFTs that you own. So just like Foot, you might pay a bit for a good scout. That good scout might find a gem of a player with a high ceiling at a low age. You start playing that player within your game. You put them through. You choose the training, how you would train them, and the player gets better. Their market value goes up. You can then either keep that player within your team and start winning games. And if you enter tournaments and win games, there are cash prizes. And when I say cash prizes, they also have their own cryptocurrency, which has its own monetary value in real life. It may be small, but the more you win and the bigger the game gets, the more you've got in your club's, treasury, the more value your club is actually worth, the more players are actually worth. You can resell those players and get money back. And then if you're ever done with the game, you can cash it all out back into real money. You may have actually made a profit on playing a football game, running a club, having your own team, playing games. It's like Football Manager where there's actually some bit of an actual economy in the game.
I really do like that. I really do like that. So I've been kind of taking the mick at the minute. So I've been calling this January like my side quest season.
Okay.
So like Joe, obviously I went to the Pocket Gamer conference a couple of weeks ago. We picked up this podcast again. Let's go. Let's see all the different things I can go and do. So January has been side quest season, and I've told you about our fantasy football game before, like a wing and a prayer.
Tell me more.
An Excel sheet and a database, and essentially, like, we started this. We're playing this 10 years now, and like I can see how people, especially when it comes to sports-based games, people are looking for like these new ways to get involved in the sport, and it's less. What we've definitely seen is it's less like watching in the game now. You can see that younger generation, they're happy to see a 5-minute highlight reel. They're looking at the stats, they're looking at the data. So in this game where it's actual financial values, it's I can make some money back, it's class. Like our thing is just like, essentially, let's say the EPL has 13 data points for players, ours has 97. So you're looking at what we call the Kante conundrum of during that season with Leicester. He was godly, but according to the fantasy football game, he was like the 20th best midfielder because he didn't score goals. And we were like, surely this makes sense. So yeah, we're 10 years down the track, actually Mickey Mousing with it, and over the last month, it's like, right, it's time to go and build. So we're going to say, watch that space, because Self and the boys have something in the pipeline. Still might screw it up. still might screw it up. There's plenty of time for it to go either direction.
I've got full faith in you. If you can take Somerville Bees to second in the table.
There we go. No. Like, I love, like, this is the thing, right? Like, games like this Metaverse thing. So essentially, you go in, like, what's your like cost for investment to start? Would we say, if someone wanted to get in today and go, I want to play meta soccer, what are we looking at? How do we go about this?
I think you would start with a fairly old team with a low ceiling. So it'd be like buying a 6th division club. You're basically Ryan Reynolds. You know, you'd buy a team just to play games. You'll lose quite a few games. But you will you'll gain more in-game currency to be able to buy a scout. Then you can actually find more players and you can work your way up. I believe the final of this tournament that was held was actually live streamed on YouTube. And it's very Football Manager plan view of the pitch of the players moving around. It's pretty sweet, you know. It's Football Manager with a little bit extra. And sorry, just to go back. So you mentioned, I want to go on to two things. Sure. You mentioned the Kante season. Kante season where they're only looking at 5 metrics. Where really across 19 metrics he was godly. So I'm not sure if you know that within our town there's Stats Sports, which is basically Opta. And I always think this is curious. I stopped sports betting for this reason. I know through the grapevine that obviously that there are people in there and that the games are coded by someone watching the game manually and counting every action that happens. But let me pose you a question. Say I've got a bet where I say Arsenal are going to score from a corner. Mm-hmm. So Saka whips it in. Harry Maguire heads it out. It lands to the edge of the box where Odegaard is. He takes one touch and he bangs it into the goal. Is that a goal from a corner, or because it's left the box, has it now entered a new phase of play?
Second phase.
Is it a second phase? So is that now not from a corner? What if it didn't leave the box?
It would be, for me, it would be first action play.
Okay, sure. But are the people who are recording these stats, how we talk about VAR, we talk about how subjective
VAR are we actually going to get into VAR?
We're not going to get into
we don't have enough time for this.
We don't, but you can see how subjective things are. So I find it very difficult to even bet on things now, because for example I might have shots on target, and all it takes is unfortunately one person sat in a room somewhere to say that wasn't a shot on target. When I've seen it, the world has seen it, everyone's seen it, and they might consider it not a shot on target based off of
deflections, based on
exactly. So I get you. I love the fantasy football idea, but I love it. But stats with football break me for a lot of the time.
See, no, this is where it's very different. So that's not necessarily true, right? So a lot of where. Thank God for AI, I guess, this is where because actually the two biggest players in that space, Stats Sports and it's eluding me right now. But anyway, there's two major brands, and it's actually a cross between manual and automated. So there is certain things like major obvious things where the AI is actually the one tracking it. So things like throw-ins, corners, the ones where it can be very, very obvious. Where the human element now comes in is mainly on the subjectives. So they're basically following referee directives in terms of like, if it's a handball, did the referee give that as a handball? Great, because the AI is not going to separate calls that are essentially differentiated through opinion.
Cool. So AI is being brought in.
It has already been in a lot of cases. So for your main metrics, those are all automated, because especially now when you have things like the VO cams that amateur clubs and stuff have, that ball tracking, mapping, player analytics, in terms of all of that is already computerized.
Yeah.
So essentially, do you remember, like, I remember, 15 years ago, we had the football, the F50s, the Adidas boots that had the chip in them.
Yeah.
Like, that was essentially the first piece of that puzzle. So, like, this is why I love technology in sports, because you can actually see a very obvious map from...
Now it's Player Maker.
Exactly.
Or not, it's now Player Maker, but the new one of that tracking technology is Player Maker that you tie to your boot. But go on.
Yeah, but essentially that to go from where it is to now, and what you've now got is like between the video cams, between all the different cameras that are in all the stadiums, this, that, and the other, and all the tracking data that is available on players, essentially that can all get mushed together and go, well, this is how many times this player passed the ball. We know this because of touches, allocations, movement, da-da-da-da-da. So it's essentially an algorithm and AI that generates 90% of that data.
Cool.
The only manual input from humans now is your VAR calls, the subjective in real time ones. So you know when you like essentially go into like live score, it's like go, no go.
Yeah.
Essentially, there's where it comes in. It's like, well, that was a goal, and then the computer says, nah, it's not. So no, it's far more.
Trust
clean.
a little more, gamble a little more is what you're saying.
Gamble responsibly, if not at all.
Yes, of course. Right.
So the second making NFTs, but anyway.
But the second part of that, right? The second part of that is, I think I'm sure you're still with Somerville at the time, but a couple of years ago, do you remember the Football Index?
Yes.
That to me was one of the greatest ideas that has ever failed. Yeah, and it failed due to it was poorly implemented. They unfortunately were burning money because they implemented a reward and dividend structure that just wasn't feasible, and also they didn't actually have the correct gambling license, which is why it went under. But again, for those who don't know what Football Index was, it was essentially a stock market for football players, where rather than owning stocks, you would own futures of football players. So, for example, imagine 5 years ago, if it were still open, you say, I've been keeping an eye on Arsenal's academy, and I'm going to put a ball of money in 3 players: Emile Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, and Bukayo Saka. Now, at the time, Reece Nelson was the star boy of the academy. People were talking about him the same way they spoke about Jadon Sancho, which again, if you owned a lot of Jadon Sancho a couple of years ago compared to the last 2 years, up, down, who knows? So the point I'm making is that was a phenomenal idea. I unfortunately told so many people about it. and it fell off the radar. But again,
this is a really cool idea, essentially, because you bought players through like a crypto value.
Well, like a stock. You bought them like a stock. So the way it would work is, again, you'd buy a player, you would own that player, and if they play well, and if they gained, a certain amount of points, like your fantasy football, whatever, there would be the chances of them being in the team of the week. And if they were in the team of the week, for every 1 share of that player you might own, you might get 1p as a dividend for owning that player. But also, their value on the chart would raise. So if you bought a player, like I remember at a time,
like a great player to use as an example right now would have been if you invested heavily in like Kobe Mainu last year versus right now, you'd see an obvious trajectory up versus where if you were to have invested in Anthony 18 months ago.
Exactly. But also, if you were to, for example, invest in Mbappe or Messi, they would be the most expensive ones on that market. But you're almost guaranteed that they will be in the team of the week, meaning that if you had loads of that player, you're also getting dividends for owning that player. So you might make 50 to 100 quid each weekend by simply owning that player. And you could still always just sell them at a later date. It was a phenomenal idea. And of course, regulations and the actual,
stupid.
Just it didn't work.
So we've looked at gambling, we've looked at data, we've looked at Metaverse, we've looked at NFT. Like, I don't think we're actually going to get a time to talk about like any of the other things you do because we've just.
I mean, how long have you got?
We've got as long as we need. But like, there was 2 other apps I remember you said you wanted to talk about as well, because there was one where I suppose you were mentioning that. And this is why I like sports technology as well. It's community, and it's a big like. I think the reason why a lot of people like sport and love soccer in particular is it's this community-based thing. And like, you recently moved from Limerick to London, And one of the things you were mentioning about is like pickup games, meeting friends, playing, getting involved with clubs. And there was an app that you found that was very useful to do it, and you got to play with some very interesting people, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So when I moved to London, when I was back home, you train twice a week, and then you play a match on a Sunday. So that's 3 days a week committed to a club. And when I moved to London, I was like, I kind of want to live a little. I kind of want to enjoy my time here. I kind of want to not be committed to a club. I want to have some me time and put on a few pounds and that sort of thing. But then I got here, and I'm like, I hop on the train. I'm going 6 stops on the train, and I look out each window, and there's pitches. So many pitches
Everywhere.
pitches everywhere. So I'm like, right, football is massive here, like massive. It would be a shame not to. But how do I play football? Like, do I have to join a club to whatever? How do I get involved? So I went on to London subreddit. Hey, just moved to London, looking to play some football. How would I get involved? First comment, Footy Addicts. I'm like, what's that? So I look at it. It's an app. You go in, you create your account, you sign in through Facebook, you connect your PayPal, you put in your postcode, and you basically once you put in your postcode, you can set the radius to like 5 kilometers, and it'll just show you 5 aside at 6 o'clock, 7 aside at 6 o'clock, 5 aside at 6, like literally football every hour that you can just hop into. Pay like it might be £5, it might be £7.50, might be £10. Doesn't matter. You set your postcode, you set your radius, you can hop in and play football with any random bunch of lads.
Nice.
And that's it. And you can have non-committal football. You can like I started playing like an over 35s. Now I'm 30. I was 29 at the time.
I was just about to. No, why? Hold on.
So what they did is they were an over 35s team, but they would put their training sessions up. And their training sessions would be an hour-long 11-a-side match.
Sure.
No, sorry, 90 minutes. Most of the time, hour to 90 minutes, depending on the weather. 11-a-side match. They would split the teams, and there would be 11 to maybe 14, 15 of them that were over 35, and then the rest would be made up of randomers who would tag along.
Yeah.
So that means that they're getting their training session. And they're also, the person who's organizing it, they're using their own pitch. So they're also getting money towards their club, towards things, because they're using their pitch. So they're just making money by renting their pitch and playing a game.
But also then the manager then might get a look at a young fella might randomly show up and be like, okay, this boy can play, like, and then
and he's only 34. He could join us next season, So yeah. So Footy Addicts, absolutely amazing. And then of course it's, for me then at the time, I was playing during the summer, and so many people are like, mate, do you have a team? Do you want to like play with a team? We're starting a new team down. And I'm like, no, I'm not playing any football. I just like my casual football. It's not for me, lads. I appreciate it though.
How's that going for you?
So as soon as then the summer ended and all of their season started, trying to find a game, while it was easy, I'd have to travel a little bit further for these games. So I might be on like a 30-minute like bus to go play football, which I don't mind, but getting darker in the evenings, that sort of thing. And I was like, right, I wish I'd like taken some of the details of some of these local teams, because I ended up joining a team, but I would travel on a Sunday morning for a 10:30 kickoff. I'd be up at like 7:30 and get to be there for like 9:30, get like an hour and a half train, stop off for a coffee on the way to go play football, But I loved it, because then it's another team. It's football. And then I joined another one, and even like I joined another one, and I met that person through another just random 5-a-side where he's like, mate, you got a team? And I'm like, no, I kind of do, but I travel an hour and a half. He's like, we're only 10 minutes away from you, bro. Come join us. It's a church league. I'd never heard of it in my life. So again, like we have our huddle before the game, and the gaffer starts saying, right, praise the Lord, thank you, Lord. Please, we pray that the pitch thaws out. We pray that the everyone, pray for our family, pray for the players, pray that we have a good game. It was wonderful. And I was like, all right, this is new. And
this
then
is
and then just before the game kicked off, we all went to the center circle. I was like, right, are we doing a moment of silence or something? And the other team start praying. And they pray for the exact same things. And I'm like, I turn around to my mate. I'm like, what's going on with all the prayers?
Yeah, I'm expecting to have it you.
Do you know what I mean? You're back home, you're you barely even look at the team before you start a game. We're rivals, These guys, they're wishing the best for everyone. It's wholesome. And it's a church league. I'm like, all right, I can dig with that. We all went for a pint afterwards. We caught up. They gave honorable mentions to the new players, which was me and man of the match. Everyone sat around. Some of the girlfriends were there. It's all lovely. And they're like, right, see you next week. I was like, I love this. I just love this. Yeah. It brings people. The people I know since I've been here have all been through football.
Yeah,
aside from work, all football.
Yeah,
I love it.
But this is the thing. You've got your pub league. I'd never heard of a church league. That's news. Over here, you've obviously got your night owls. You've got your, what's the other one? You've got the business leagues and stuff like that. You've got your Sunday league. And apps like that connect. So it's really cool. It's a major switch out from Meta Soccer, which is go spend your money on a digital game versus go find your actual own game.
Yeah. And funnily enough, so that's not the only one. There's another one called FC Urban, where you would pay a subscription, kind of you would pay a subscription. I don't need to keep saying kind of like Netflix. You pay a subscription, and you
kind of like Netflix.
And say you pay 20 quid a month or 30 quid a month, you can hop in as many games as you want, and just hop in for games. And it's not just strictly related to football. I'm in a WhatsApp group which has up the road is Crystal Palace Park, which in the park there's the Crystal Palace National Sports Centre. They've got a gym, they've got an Olympic-sized pool, they've got a 15,000 seat football stadium just randomly in the middle of the park. Because they have a skate park in the stadium or in the sports center themselves. They've got 3 Astros, 2 outside and 1 inside a dome. And then they've also got 2 tennis courts and 2 paddle courts. So literally sports wherever you want, right?
Yeah.
But I'm part of it. They recently got paddle within the last 6 months. Do you know what paddle is?
I was living in Portugal there last year for a bit of time.
Okay.
I've seen paddle.
Okay, cool, fair. So even that, if I want to have a game of paddle, I can book the court, and then I can go into a WhatsApp group that I'm in with complete randomers. There's 100 random people, and I can say I've booked the court Saturday 7 to 8. Would anyone like to hop in for a game of paddle? And people join in, and they just pay me through bank transfer or whatever, pay me in cash
or whatever. Send you on your few quid and say, "Hey, see ya. We'll smack the back off you," and away we go again.
Yeah, love it. So there's that. There's Racket Mate, which is another one. So if you play racket sports, and a friend of mine who I worked with in my last role, he was a professional tennis player in India. So he's like, I can't find someone to play tennis with. I'm like, mate, just go on Racket. Go on to Racket Pal or Racket, whatever it is.
These are things that the Irish industry needs quick, fast.
Yeah,
because I can tell you for a fact, just being in the Somerville committee group, you always have every other night there's a group that pulls out. The AstroTurf gets booked. It's can't make it tonight, we don't have numbers. Whereas having an app like that, you'd have someone like me who's sitting at home going, I think my hip feels okay today. Yeah, I'll go play with the lads and just get a pickup game or whatever. Or there's plenty of fellas who work shift work and stuff like that would happily go, right, I'll go be your 11, your 12th man there and let's play. And that's just my club. Now expand that to every club that has an AstroTurf, including the bigger guys that have multiple AstroTurfs. If you were to say on average each club just in Limerick alone has 2 cancellations a week, and that's low. It's probably about 4. Multiply that by the amount of clubs in Limerick right now. We have 12 leagues.
Yeah,
12 leagues. About 10 to 12 leagues, on average 10 teams per league. So you multiply that out and you're like, that's an awful lot of revenue that's being lost by clubs.
Yep.
So an app like that goes, and again,
begs the question, why are there so many leagues? Because people want to play sports. That's the truth of it. And if you have 6 leagues, then there's going to be a lot of people who aren't at the top level or at the top level of Limerick who can't play sports. People just want to play sports. People just want to be part of a community.
Like, and I think that needs to come over here now, because like Dublin is a fantastic example of like terrible work-life balance culture. Even though supposedly that's Limerick has the worst of that, which I didn't expect, but it's worse than Europe by all accounts. You saw that report? Yeah, 50th on the list, like last on the list of cities that with work-life balance. Didn't expect that. I thought it would have been Dublin myself. But anyway, again, you look at Dublin, and I remember when I lived up there, I would have been mad for road. Like, I'd have picked up a game every other night just to see people. To be honest, just to see other people. And no, like an app like that needs to, So yeah.
No, I get that. Like, I'm playing a game this evening at 9, and like to go play an hour game, again with randomers. There's a guy I played with last week who his name is Joel Boyega, I think his name is. He had a GoPro strapped to his chest, and the quality was good. And I think it's the first time in a long time I played left back. I'm right-footed. I literally just played left back because everyone else looked like they knew where they wanted to play. I was like, you know what? I'll play left back if you need. But when I get the ball, unfortunately, I don't take it on my inside. I take it on my right foot.
Yeah.
Because I'm right back. But usually I'm usually on the right, or I'm further up the pitch. I just want to get the ball and run. I can't think of like looking up. There's someone coming at me. Oh Christ! So I struggle.
Remember the GoPro coming at me.
Do you know what I mean? And there's a guy. No, he was on my team, and I'm like, right, this guy last week. I've checked out his page. This guy last week, he met Haaland. He met Guardiola. He was at the FIFA Best Awards thing where he, met Thierry Henry and all this stuff. And then 2 days later, he's got he's playing centre back, and he's got Brenny panicking with guys coming at him, losing the ball. Just mad. But again, that's the joy of the Sunday night football. I could be playing against God knows who tonight. I could be playing with God knows who tonight, and this
is it. So, in an hour we have looked at NFTs. We have talked Metaverse. We have talked VR. We have talked community-based sport and soccer apps. We have looked at Meta Soccer. I nearly forgot that one. Jeez, this has been an hour of sports tech, sports stuff, and the obvious new age technology in terms of your VRs, your NFTs, and the metaverse in general. This has been really good.
And we haven't even got to talk about your jersey.
Yes. Yes. Actually, do you know what? Let's do that. So, I was born in Fulham. I've been raised here. I've watched Fulham since the days of Steve Malbranc, Lewis Boamorte, and there was a really good year a few years back with a lovely Europa League run that we lost to a team with a few names that might be recognised, such as David De Gea and Sergio Aguero and whatnot. It was a good time. But this guy right here is living my dream.
God
damn you.
I am living your dream. Oh, yeah. So I do work at Fulham on a freelance basis.
Sure.
So I work for the home games. I'm an AV freelancer. So what that means is I help out in a variety of different roles. Sometimes it's setting up microphones and speakers for post-game interviews in the fan zone with certain players. So I've met Bernd Leno, João Paulinho, Duffy last year. Who else was there?
Did you get to meet Mitra last year?
No, I didn't. He was injured, and then he was gone to Saudi.
That would have been the one now where me and you probably would never speak again if you got to meet him.
Again, if I meet certain players that you like, I'll be sure. I've just actually purchased, weirdly enough, the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, because I always feel so weird being like, hey, Daniel Sturridge is in Sky Sports Studio. Hey, Daniel, do you mind if I like get a quick selfie? So instead, I got like the little Ray-Ban thing, and I'm just gonna go and they're gonna shake their hand, like pure cool, whatever,
Just
and
nobody
get it
knows.
all. Nobody knows.
Are you wearing them now?
No, I'm not. They're gonna arrive like next week, hopefully.
Yeah, it'd be like that.
But yeah, so I do a wide variety of different things. Setting up, stages. I walk around. So within the stadium, they've got loads of different screens all around the concourse. I like stay in contact with like the gallery, and I make sure that all of the screens are playing the right thing, are playing like the right titles depending on which like stand they're in. Make sure that sound is okay, that sort of thing. There are some games that I've done like vision mixing for live stream. So I'm the guy who, like, if you're a Fulham member online, you would and you're watching, say, a preseason game or a women's game or an underage game, I'll start the clock, I'll update the scores, I'll update, like, do the titles for the team sheets, cue the ads, then the ads will play from like a different room, and then when it comes back in, start the second half clock, add the scores up, that sort of thing.
Cool.
There's occasional times where it's like cut the game for like the big screen, so at halftime there might be like a 2-minute like highlight reel, so there's that as well. So we do loads of different things. But it's great fun.
How'd you get into that?
I hate saying this, but I know a guy.
Fair. Yeah. But again, when you're going out and playing the games of football and you're doing those things, you're going to meet people who are in certain circles, especially living in London. So like it makes sense. I mean, I'm very jealous. But like, do you know what we're going to ask about the tech recruitment stuff? Like we've hit the hour mark, so let's just, because I think this is fascinating. Like you've been doing tech recruitment for a very, very long time, and I guess it's one of those ones of, like, the industry is going through a weird flux where loads of companies are hiring, loads of companies are doing redundancies. Like, what's the lay of land? What the hell is happening? What's our recommendations? Just, Joe, I'm a zip and you're just going to rampage here. Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to say I've been on the receiving end of 2 layoffs. I was part of tech layoffs originally with Shopify, and then I wasn't laid off from my recent company, but I did leave for personal reasons, as did a few of my colleagues. So yeah, it's a weird one. I think that there's plenty of jobs and the market is looking up a little bit. But also, whenever there's an update whenever there's an industry like paradigm change, like for example, when ChatGPT and AI kind of became the forefront of like talk last year, we saw a lot of roles being made redundant because companies like Microsoft and Shopify are focusing a lot more of their investment in AI stuff rather than the human side of things. So you'll see a lot of layoffs in that front. But it's also an exciting time to be in the industry because there's still tons of opportunities, and a lot of these big companies are making layoffs, but there's also a lot of startups and a lot of smaller companies who can capitalize on this wonderful talent that's being laid off, because it's not like there's a talent gap. It's not like people are being laid off due to poor performance. It's top down stuff.
Yeah, I think what I've definitely smelt from the industry, because I've seen it in the gaming industry, the biggest industry I've seen getting attacked is the gaming industry, and like telecommunications, because like we heard that 3 are about to lay off 150 staff members over the coming weeks. That was just recently announced in the Irish media. I think what happened there is COVID. Digital. I remember I was working in a digital agency at the time. We grew like 7 years worth of growth in 1 year, 6 or 7 years of growth in 1 year, because of how quickly everybody had to adapt to a digital world. Now, what was always going to happen after that was going to be a slow contraction of the market. And definitely gaming is the obvious gold standard here, because everybody was at home. And what were people going to do to fill their times? They were going to play video games. This is just natural. And, you had to fill your hours. And what's a great way to do it? Jump into a video game. Now, these companies had to hire by the brickload to service demand. Same with us in the agencies. Maybe not all agencies hired quickly enough, and that added to a layer of burnout factor in terms of agency workers later, which I'm sure you've dealt with enough. And essentially, what's happened to the market over the last 18 months has been this contraction because there was such a powerful growth. But as you said, the next layer of that is what that is. I'm really excited to see what happens in this space over the next 18 months, because what you essentially get there is you've got a lot of people with a lot of talent and a little chip on the shoulder. And that means startups burst.
Yeah.
So I think what we're about to see is like a very big era of startups in the tech space. Not that like there's always startups in the tech space, but I'm expecting an explosion because you've got loads of these companies that have let go hundreds and thousands of people and
brilliant people, by the way.
Brilliant people.
That's the thing. And like, even so, my next role is going to be an agency role, and it's going to be a smaller company. I'm used to, Shopify. I remember I was there for 3 years, and within like in the internal system, you could see how many people joined after you. Something like 59% of the staff joined after me, and I was there for 3 years. Like that's the growth. So there were thousands of employees. I hired, like in the first half of the year that I was there, the year before I was laid off, I hired like 120 people. Like it was high scale hiring compared to my last role, where I hired like, in a year, like 20 to 25 people, you know? But even at that, like that was in a company that at the time was like 2,000 employees and, is much less now. Now I'm joining an organization that's much smaller, and I can't wait because it means that it's different. I'm sick of working with big organizations. As much as I love them, as much as they've got great perks and all of this stuff, the culture will only be spoken about, and culture will only really be important to them as long as they need it to be important to them. And that's what I'm finding with these big companies, whereas the small companies, I don't think I hope that isn't going to be the case. And I hope that, they don't try and exponentially grow their staff by a bajillion people in this year, because that's just going to lead to more layoffs. It's just going to lead to more talent on the market, great talent on the market that don't deserve to be in the positions that they're in.
Yeah, like I know a couple of people will say that are going to have either been or are getting caught up in some of the redundancies that are happening in different spaces, whether it's game and telecommunications, whether it's like digital marketing. I've seen a few, and I know of a few that have either or will be. And like I can tell you for a fact, of those few that I know, there's 4 or 5 I'd bet my house on, because it as you said, I don't think the industry, it's about the talent, it's about the downsizing, it's contraction of space, it's
resource allocation.
That's the word. And also this going back to the office thing that seems to be growing. I'm sorry, personally, I work in digital marketing. I need a laptop. I don't know why I need to see you.
Yeah, true. You should look at Grow. Remote. I know one of the directors. His name is John Reardon. He's a Cork man who once wore a Dublin jersey. Sorry, it's an internal joke from Shopify. But he left Shopify and he joined an organization called Grow Remote. And I recently saw another ex-colleague of mine from Shopify. Shopify was fully remote. And I saw an ex-colleague of mine, Mandy. She's organizing a Grow Remote meetup in Limerick. I think it's like a monthly thing where any remote worker in Limerick is welcome to come to these meetups, either work for the first portion of the day there and then just go for drinks afterwards. And it's an opportunity for remote people to socialize and meet other remote workers, which I think is phenomenal, because this whole idea of coming to the office for the sake of coming to the office. The only reason you're coming to the office because the CEO has a lease of 5 years and they want people to be in the office because they have no break clause, or they
use the word culture. They'll spend it as culture.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I've been hybrid for the last year. I love going into the office. I love being with the people. I will say hello to every single person who walks past my desk. I love going into the office.
I get more done at home.
But I get more done at home. I love going in on my time when I want to. So maybe like twice a week, I'll go in, and I love it. And I love seeing the people, and my people are amazing, and I love it. But I don't like being told I have to go into the
Yes.
office. You know,
Yeah.
there's the difference.
I feel, yeah, like I don't mind going once a week, personally. Like that's my thing. I don't mind going once a week, but with the nature of the types of jobs there are in the market at the moment, I don't understand this push for culture of let's go back to the office so everybody can see each other and have a slice of pizza. Nah, do one, mate. I've worked at home now since pre-COVID. I've done pretty okay in doing so. I can go for a walk at lunchtime. I can go do my bit of washing. I don't have to spend an hour traveling to and from every evening. Those 2 hours, I remember like I was working for a company out the road and it was 40 minutes each way. That hour and a half or so that I got back every day, that was so valuable to me in terms of, I think I shaved off like a stone and a half that first year I worked at home. And people would be like, oh, it's actually the opposite because you're going to graze and eat more. I was like, this is an hour and a half where I'm not sitting in a car that I can go outside. Or the bike there that is clearly hanging a jacket on and we won't.
I never spotted that, actually. I just thought it was a really fancy coat rack.
No, technically it is.
Coat rack with wheels, yeah.
Yeah, technically, I suppose right now it is. Caught myself. But anyway, as I was saying, right, so in terms of like the tech industry right now and in terms of recruitment and all these layoffs, like what kind of recommendations would be given to people who have or probably will be affected by the slaps that are coming?
Right. So, having been in the situation myself, the one recommendation that I would really do is update your LinkedIn. I know people, when I say update your LinkedIn, I'm not saying post every day and become a LinkedIn influencer. That's not what I'm saying. Your LinkedIn is essentially your online CV, in my opinion. And if any recruiter is worth their gold, they use LinkedIn Recruiter to source candidates. And so what you want to do is you want to clearly have a description about who you are and what type of person you are and that sort of thing. And if it's jokey, that's okay. If it's authentic, that's the most important thing. But then with each role and each company that you're with, that you've got experience with, outline what the company is and what they do in the description, and then outline your main responsibilities at that company and outline everything that you've done. Some things you might think sound boring. They might be your everyday tasks, but you can write that so it actually sounds like what it would sound like if it were a job description. Like you would be doing X, Y, and Z. Realistically, in your day to day, you forget what your X, Y, and Z is. That's just your day to day. But when you look at it from a job description point of view, you're probably covering off a lot of what you do on your job description. So write it as if it's a job description. Write down all of the things you've done. Write out your highlights. Write out your key responsibilities, milestones that you've achieved, any certifications you've got. List it all, because as I mentioned, recruiters are looking for you. That's the thing. Recruiters are looking.
I've actually got a few of the jobs down the years, literally from people reaching out to me on LinkedIn going, I have this. Would you be interested? You know, this might be up your alley. Would you be interested? Yeah. Now, there's been plenty of times. Probably, look, there's two sides of this thing, I guess. You know what I'm about to say. Yeah. Sometimes you're like, I'm in a job, go away. Mm-hmm. But the flip side is the second you're actually looking for something, you can reach back out to these people and go, what you got?
Exactly. And so for me, you know, putting out a good description of what you do and your responsibilities across the roles that you want to talk about, the certifications you've gathered, the projects that you can talk about that you've worked on. Outline everything, because when I'm doing a search, not only am I looking for skills, I'm looking for people who have been in certain industries for a certain amount of time, people who mention certain like tech stacks in their bios. I'm looking for these types of people, and if you reach that criteria, I'm going to add you to a list of people I'm going to reach out to. Obviously, you're not the only person I'm going to reach out to, but I'm going to reach out to, and I'm going to create a pipeline of brilliant people, and I'm going to reach out to all of them, and I'm going to hope that one of these brilliant people is looking for a job.
And I'm the right person then for that job.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the best thing I could say is, sure, update your CV. People say have a CV for certain jobs and whatever. Yeah, that's true to an extent. But in the modern age, if you're not applying, like update your CV if you're applying. If you want people to come to you, fix your LinkedIn.
Yeah. No, I'd 100% back that, because I left a job on the 5th of Jan. I had the first. I started looking, so that was a Friday, 6th, 7th, 8th. I started looking, had my first interview on the 9th, and I got a job offer on the 20th. So like it can move, get on top of the LinkedIn. Essentially, all I did was, get some advice from the likes of yourself, and then go, okay, these are things I just need to do, and not a bother, job done. Let's go. It's grand. Like there's no need to fear the redundancy scale that's coming. There is an awful lot of jobs out there at the moment. I think the fact that there's a lot of remote work as well really helps. That like I know being in Limerick could have been like 4 years ago. That would have been a death knell for my career as such, because it would have been like, you have to go to Dublin, and I'd be like, no, not again. Whereas now you have that scope, and
now there's opportunities. Yeah,
and companies in Spain, Germany, England, Scotland, as long as they're cool with your work from now, who cares?
Exactly. And there's if you're looking on LinkedIn and if you're looking for jobs, you can also type in EMEA and search remote in EMEA, because if they're hiring in EMEA, they might be hiring in Ireland. They might not have it listed as Ireland, but they might have it listed as Europe, and you might be able to apply there. So you could find another few there. I found an opportunity in Revolut, which I wasn't successful with, but they had it based for Madrid. And I played a corporate five-a-side football league, fintech football league, where on one occasion we played against Revolut. So I know they've got a London office.
Yeah, so, and I was looking at a couple of jobs there with two of the Uniteds in the UK. So okay. I had there was applications in, there was things, but they didn't ping.
Yes. That happens.
It happens. It's all right. But look, there's work out there. And that brings us full circle back to the point of football. Just to spin it around.
There we go.
See. And there's how we go full circle in the end. So come here. Right. If anybody wants to reach out to you on tech recruitment stuff, where do they get you? If anybody wants to reach out with you about crypto, NFTs, all that stuff, where can they get you for that stuff? And then we're going to have a look at making a Goosed NFT that we're going to give away with the release of the podcast for someone to start their first NFT. So anyway, Brenny, where do people find you for the different trends?
Yeah, so my next role will be in creative tech recruitment. So that'll be VR, AI, movie sets, that sort of thing. It's going to be creative tech. So if you're looking for a role, or if you'd like a role advertised, by all means, reach out to me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is linkedin.com/in/Brendan Woodage. Feel free to just connect with me, follow me, or shoot me an email if you pay for LinkedIn Premium. In relation,
sometimes that you have a surname, because to me you're just like Ronaldinho or Sharon. It's just Brenny.
I'm just Brenny. Yeah, you know what? Funnily enough, on Facebook I'm just Brenny, and the only way I was actually able to do that, I think I changed my location to like Indonesia, in which then that allows you to only have one name and no surname on Facebook. So then I just changed it to Brenny, and then changed my location back to Ireland, and there you go. Another fun fact: if you want to get cheap YouTube Premium or cheap like Netflix, whatever, change your address to India, get an Indian card, pay in rupees, and it'll only cost you like 2 or 3 quid a month. A little tip I learned from some of my colleagues. Finally,
brain tips here. Anyway, yes, carry on.
Finally, then, if you want to buy a jersey, if you want to collab, look, you've seen the jerseys I've made for Somerville A and B. So just Somerville A's. I didn't do the B's. Shout out to SK Apparel. They're really cool stuff. Always helping my friends, even if they're competitors. I
know that guy too.
Yeah, reach out to him. See if you'll have a chat with him. Yeah, but no, if you have merch you want to do, if you want a cool collection, Dave's son, I'm doing something for his TY mini company as well. I'm really happy to work with any crowd to just come up with something cool, something creative, something different. So reach out to me. You can find me on socials at CryptoFC Jerseys, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on TikTok. And yeah, otherwise don't talk. No, I'm joking. otherwise, yeah, that's me.
See, I said this was one of the good guys in the tech world. I'm delighted. So anyway, look, we're going to wrap this up. Where you'll find us everywhere is Goosed_IE. We are everywhere, and I'll keep saying it. We're even on Threads now. That exists, and since those GDPR things happened, Threads is moving. Martin is the face of the TikTok. That is Martin at Goosed, and everywhere else is Goosed_IE. And then this is live on the YouTube, and it's also available under the Goosed Podcast on Spotify. So if you do listen to it there, give us an old rating, because that will help us get in front of more people. And just on that note, we should hit the 1,000 plays, but hopefully in the next couple of days, which is a lovely little touch point. So on that note, good luck, goodbye, peace out, and we'll talk to you on the next one.